Hey, and welcome to this week's Inbound Debate. As always, on my left, I'm joined by Mr. Nick Pateman, who's sporting a very nice pink and purple combo. Very feminine, if I may so say.
Thanks, man.
And on my right, Mr. Stripy Shirt, Dan Holt. And this week, we are talking about inbound marketing consultancy. Specifically, I want to ask you guys, when it comes to inbound marketing consultancy and the approach that we take, what's more important? A great understanding of the client market or a great technical understanding of the platforms involved in providing the solution to that consultancy, Dan?
I think you can arrange your resources in two different ways. You can do it by function, so you can say, right, we're a team of specialists, everyone focuses on a particular area, whether that's email, Facebook, whatever it may be. Or you can say, well, actually, we'll develop a team of people who have a very solid grasp of each of those technologies, but in addition, they understand how those technologies apply specifically to certain markets. Now, of course, there are certain areas that do require a very, very significant level of expertise, a real specialist, so coding, for example, maybe something like PR. But I think it's really important to remember, and I think, in one respect, I think this sounds obvious, but actually I think it's something that so many companies get wrong, and I think we've got it wrong in the past, if I'm completely honest. We've got to remember that these are ultimately just tools. They're tools to satisfy a client, and if we're going to satisfy a client, we first need to understand what matters to that client, and that means understanding the client's market. Only when we have that understanding, right down to the personality of the individual that we're dealing within the business, only when we have that understanding can we arrange the necessary tools. And I think so many companies get this wrong. They put the technology first, as if somehow that only they have access to the technology, which is ridiculous. Only they have access to, whether it's Facebook or email. Obviously, this is nonsense. When people approach us, they should be able to take it as a given that, yeah, we're expert in Google and Facebook and MailChimp or whatever it may be. But the reason why they should choose us, the thing that should give us competitive advantage, is how we can take those technologies and apply them specifically to their market.
Yeah, there's obviously benefits to both. I think if you're a market expert, then you're giving a level of consultancy that's very different if you're a very sort of technical expert. And I think obviously you do need a mix of both, but I would say it really depends on kind of who you've got behind you. So if you've got a good team of people that you're working with you, then you can take these great ideas that you have for a market, but you can make sure they're delivered. Because I think if you're not, I know social and email, generally speaking, there's not a huge amount of technical sort of know-how. But you still need to have those specialists behind you that are actually going to be able to deliver a really, really good service off the back of it. So I think you want that consultant to have a really generalized kind of idea of everything. They understand the market as best as anyone else in the market, and they can see which opportunities are where. So how does email tie up with social in this market? Does it tie up at all? How does do we need to go down a paid route? Do we need to get lead gen going in from like paid emails or anything? Yeah. So I mean, there's all sorts of things that would change depending on the market. So some markets changes, like mothering market might be very different to even if it was just ours. Like how we would market ourselves would be very different, used with very different platforms to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think an understanding of the market's a prerequisite. I think that if we take the mothering market, for example,
you say that,
I know. The thing is, I think a great technical understanding is incredibly important to deliver good consultancy as well, because, and I'm going to give you an example here. So let's take the mothering market, for instance, right? I know that mothers, basically, because I specialise in the mothering market, they're loyal and they buy on recommendation. Those are two simple things, key things that a lot of products actually miss. And they also trust expertise. So if you've got a product that is recommended by a midwife or something, they're going to go and buy that product. It's a great market, and I know that because I'm involved in it. But if I'm going into a company and I'm consulting on how they can use these traits of the market, I want to know, look, what are you doing with your data of your customers that are coming in? How's this data being stored? What it's being used for? How can we tie it into customer nurturing processes via email, right? And if I don't have a technical understanding of how that email process or database might work, I'm actually missing the client out on an opportunity that I might not have identified otherwise.
That's fine, but when it comes to developing an organisation, if you put the technology first, so let's say before you got an understanding of the maternity sector, you build this amazing team of developers and email experts and all these different lead generation experts, and only then once you've got that, only then do you ask the question, well, what's going to really matter in my market? If you do that, you end up with massive overheads, a very unagile organisation where you're trying to use your existing expertise and technology to determine what the market wants, rather than actually allowing the market to determine what technology and expertise you should be developing.
So guys, if you could describe a great consultant, or what it means to be a great consultant, in 2 words, what would it be, Dan?
Well, I think there's a lot of, that's not a good start, is it? I think there's a lot of words I'd use to describe a good consultant. For me, as I've made very clear, I think a great consultant, market expert.
Market expert. I haven't thought about this too much, but I would imagine I would go down the technical side, but I try and somehow word in technical and market expert and sit right on the fence, but there's no way of doing that in 2 words.
Not in 2 words.
Unless you guys can help out.
So I won't.
I mean, I was going to go with, what it means to be a great consultant, 2 words, Dan Holt.
Oh.
I mean, that was what
that was the main thing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, guys. As always, this has been the Inbound Debate, and we'll see you next week.